Okay, we are live, and as usual, sort of not unannounced because YouTube will announce this, of course, but n- unscheduled as always. We will see if someone shows up. Um, just a few words about how I do this. I have subscribers only mode. Um, in the settings, so you have to subscribe to this channel to join the chat. What else is there? Yeah, we try to keep a friendly tone here. I think we have a wonderful community, and a lot of the same people are showing up in the chat, and I normally go through my what I want to say, and then we have a talk, have a chat about that and other topics as well. So I'm just going to give it a few seconds while people are joining, while people are discovering this live stream. I have also been asked uh, if I could have guests here. Then I have to change the settings, of course, but that should not be. I think StreamYard is what people use for that. That should not be a problem. So let's say hello to the people who are joining the chat. Marge, Tominator, and Green Eyed Lady, Luke and Mom, Noble Heart Horse, and people are reacting to the title, which I forgot it already, but something like what is fueled by hate will lose, you know. Angela, good to see you. We have a moderator here now. Stealth mode, wonderful. Stealth mode says hello, Bjorn and friends. Yeah, I think the title is it's something that we all know. Hate, while hate can power you, it can fuel you, it can make you strong and help you keep going. If that's your motivation, eventually you will fail, you know. And we will look at some examples, and we have a very recent one here that we'll get into. Petar Petrovich, let's see, Rosemary, Daniel. Okay. Oh, look, Mom, do you have a sweater like this? It's called an Icelandic sweater. It's your Bjorn sweater. Yeah, the pattern is like, they say, like, Icelandic fishermen were using those. And maybe so. Okay. Let's get into the topic for today. Hate. Did you know that one of, if not the strongest, most effective way to grow on YouTube, dare I say it, is through utilizing hate? In other words, if you, at least in a niche where you talk to the camera or you do live streams and so on, if you continuously talk about things that you don't like, things that are bad, things that are unfair, things that you disagree with, and if that is done in such a way that it aligns with a certain group in the population, a certain tribe, uh, the algorithm really likes that. That's why you see some of these commentators, um, some of them, they like to call themselves truthers, as if they knew the truth. The truth is a very big word. um, some of those, that's what they do. They do that all the time. We have and it's easy because we have a mainstream media that is extremely biased. Um, the best example is Trump, actually, because and you know this, I'm not a Trump fan, but it needs to be said that if Trump does something good, objectively good, um, the media will find a way to spin it so that it's presented as a horrible thing, and that makes a market for so-called independent creators, and they will use that. So you have hate, discontent, fueling all of this. Now we see it, of course, in your life. We all have experienced things that were unfair and so on, and we have reacted to that with hate. I think that's very natural. Nothing, and I will even say that there's nothing wrong with that. It's not I don't believe in sin. I don't believe in that concept. So I wouldn't say that being hateful is a sin. It's a natural feeling. But we also need to understand that while it is natural, it shouldn't be what drives you, because it will not give you a good life. And there are countless novels and movies and so on written about that. It's a message that needs to be repeated. And if you have been following my channel here for a while, you know I often get into politics. Yes, I do. I get into politics, and that gets me into trouble a lot of the time. So be it. Now, we can't talk about this without talking about the most, at least in the Western Hemisphere. Thank you so much. Sod, is that how we pronounce it? Thank you so much for that wonderful donation and your kind words. Yeah, okay, so we can't talk about hate and how hate fueling someone or something like a movement. We can't talk about that, I think, here in the Western world without mentioning the MAGA movement. Okay. And looking at it from Norway, it seems like it came from a place of discontent, which I can understand and which is understandable. But I think at least part of that movement evolved into outright hate. Hate towards those who do not align with the values of that said movement. And I find that problematic. I find it anti-freedom, the opposite of freedom. And I think such a policy will fail. such a way of gaining followers, such a way of winning an election. It might get you through the election and make you win the election, but you will then lose support, because you need to, not only do you need to keep the hate level at a very high level, but you also need to solve all those problems that you promised to solve. And if you don't, well, what happens then? Well, remember that it was built on hate, right? So what happens? Well, that hate needs somewhere to be directed, and it will then be very often directed to the one who promised to solve all the problems. So I think that such a movement needs enemies. It needs enemies all of the time. And you can, if you go to the Soviet era, a few years ago now, and the propaganda machine in the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, it was always about how the West is degenerated, how it's keeping people down, how it's, capitalism is sinful almost. I don't know if they used the word sin, because religion was basically banned, but degenerated and wrong and what's the word? Well, the same, some of that rhetoric used by the Soviets is now actually being used by the MAGA movement. There are many similarities, and if you know history, you will see the similarities. They point to the other people or the enemy, and they say, "Oh, they're degenerated. They are." Looking for a word here. They are. They are. Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll stick with that word. So, what we are seeing now is, of course, that the promises that were made by, well, Trump, it's not, well, it's only been a month or 6 weeks or whatever, 5 weeks. But people are, well, he's losing support now. That could change, but it's quite dramatic. I have some numbers here, okay? And people who really like Trump, they will not believe the numbers are true. But I can't do anything about that. I'm sorry. So the approval rate is still high, but it's 47% now. The Trump approval rate, 47%. That's it seems kind of high, okay, but it's actually not good at all. It is in recent times the only other president with such low numbers 1 month into his presidency. The only other president is Trump himself in his first term, which he then managed to get a bit lower rating in February. But it's down to 47%. So yeah, okay, it hasn't really decreased that much, because I can't remember the exact numbers now, but it was like a little bit less than 50% voted for Trump during the election. And if you'd wonder why not more than 50%, it's because, well, I guess you have some other minor candidates in the USA, but Kamala Harris got less than Trump, of course. And some people won't believe those numbers either. The dramatic decrease here is what you see when you look at the demographics. Three groups here I have for you. So 18, those between 18 and 34 years, their approval rate was 57%. Now it's 16%. So clearly, young people, they are having regrets. Hispanics, it was at 50, now it's 41%. How is that? I don't like these terms, Black Americans. Okay, it was 30, now it's 23%. So this is not me saying that Trump is wrong, or anything like that. I'm just giving you some numbers. And I think that this has to do with the fact that at least a lot of the MAGA movement was fueled by hate. And when you remove your enemy, you kind of lose traction a little bit. Okay. And this is not me discussing the cases. This is not me discussing the politics. I'm just talking about the driving force. And I do believe that you can find the statistics yourself. Okay. I'm not going to do that. Play that game. So when you have a driving force in your movement, which is hate, basically, and pointing at others, which is quite common in politics, you lose traction when you remove your enemy. This is a mechanism we see. It's very common. But it's more extreme because everything was more extreme during this election in the USA. And I think that, personally, I think that Trump is going to lose even more support. And we'll see. We'll see what happens there. So I think that it's very easy to, also because of how the algorithms work on social media, it's easy to be in a bubble. It's easy to end up in an echo chamber because the algorithms will just feed you more of the same. And what that does is that it strengthens your beliefs instead of presenting facts. And I think that's not a good thing at all. This is not unique to Trump, of course. But I think it's more visible because it was all about, oh, look at the transgender people. They are so horrible. Oh, look at the all the money going to Ukraine. Look at how the USA is funding the world and sending money to Norway so that Norway, I've even heard that, so that those poor Norwegians will be able to, get food and have food on the table and not be invaded by the Russians. Yes, I've seen that. It's funny. Now, it's you have to mix into the whole thing outright lies. And I'm not saying that the current US administration is lying or that they are not lying, but lies are being spread, and the popular opinion now the popular perception of the world now in the USA, it seems to be like, the USA is funding the world. So, but okay, let's make an, um, you're not to laugh at us. Well, I guess you're being ironic there, but yeah, I mean, at least Europe is laughing. So yeah, let's make an attempt of leaving that. Um, that now. Um, yes, Thomas, those poor Norwegians that have saved up $1.4 trillion in funds. I can't even remember the number now. I was in the historic museum 2 days ago, and actually a Viking section, of course. And they compared some of it was interesting because, they were gathering wealth back then. Now we are gathering wealth in our so-called pension fund. And it was on the wall, it was like a number, it was just counting up, up, up while you were looking at how much money is in the fund. It's one of the biggest in the world, actually. Like top 6 or something like that, investment funds in the world. I can't remember exactly, but it's right up there at the top, and it was counting up quite a lot while you were watching, you know. So yeah. Okay, let's get to the chat. I don't know the political situation in Poland. I've only read the news about that. That's all I know about it. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah. Well, Western oriented. I don't think I was a Western oriented. It's just that I can't keep track of everything all of the time. So we don't hear so much about Poland here in Norway, actually. So I've been to Poland, but I haven't. It's not like I know enough to have an opinion about what's happening there right now. But what I will say is that I mean, I'm actually. I hope that you can go to my main channel in 12 hours from now, and check out the video that I will be uploading 12 hours from now. I'm talking a little bit about that in that video. You'll see if you check it out. Yeah. Now, I think yes, John, I try to remain unbiased. I try to relate to the facts, and relating to the facts it means that in many ways, in most cases, I can't have an opinion because I don't know the facts. And it takes quite a lot of effort to find enough facts to have an opinion. So most people, they just consume the mainstream media news, and they think that that's the truth being presented there. And then you have other people who they will not watch the news, which is probably good for your mental health. But if you replace that with certain YouTube channels, certain podcasts, you just it's not better. It's just you get a different angle, and a lot of those people are claiming to know the truth, and they will even put it in the title, the truth about this and that. And well, while it is okay to do that if you actually know the truth, it I mean, it's a huge word, it's a big word, it's the truth. So that's why I don't have an opinion on what's happening in Poland, because I don't know enough about it. Um, it's like we could talk about, if the censorship wasn't so horrible here, we could talk about COVID and the effects of the a certain Billy Boy's medicine thing, because that one I do know about quite a lot. We could talk about the Viking Age. I know quite a lot about that. But yeah, so let's. But I do see that people are ready to form an opinion at any time without hardly knowing any facts at all. That's kind of disturbing. Why are we so opinionated? Why are we required to have an opinion about everything? You know? Exactly, Angela. Everyone is an armchair expert, yes. Altera says, guess those people can't tolerate any uncertainty. Yeah, that's true. And a certain type of religious people, I would say, are also the kind of people who can't tolerate uncertainty. Not talking about a certain religion, talking about a certain kind of people. The religion doesn't matter so much in that case, I guess. Yeah, I find that when you try your best to relate to the facts and be objective, it's not popular. Because it doesn't fit with any of the two, if we can say there are two major tribes now. At least those who are the most vocal and noisy. So that's the leftist woke people, and you have like the right wing. Very often, a certain type of Christianity goes into that. Not all kind of Christianity, but all kinds of Christianity. But you know the kind. And yeah, so those are both claiming to know the truth, and it's obnoxious. Let's see. 007 HWM. Thank you. My views are food for thought. Thank you. Yeah, so let me give you an example. We talked about the trans people thing here. Yeah. And in the USA, people seem obsessed with what they call restrooms or bathrooms. let's stick with the term restroom because I find it funny. Why don't why don't you say toilet? Because that's where you go into that room because you have to go to the toilet, right? And I would say, what kind of pervert goes to that room to rest? So imagine you go into the restroom and there's a guy hanging out there and he's just saying, well, I'm just resting here. Wouldn't that be a little bit disturbing? Um, but yeah, it's like these people. So these people, I'll try to be objective here, okay? Oh, you do say toilet, okay. Bathrooms, yeah. Um, and who goes into the bathroom, a public bathroom, to take a bath? But okay, so the leftist woke brigade, they would say that um, if a man who defines as a woman wants to go into the female toilet, bathroom, restroom to shave his beard, claiming to be a woman, um, the woke brigade thinks that that's all fine. Yeah, and I'm like, I have a daughter, and I will say that no, that's not okay. That's not okay. I do not want men in the women's restrooms, right? It should be very easy to understand why. And I don't think that I'm a bigot for saying that. But I'll continue. I'll continue being objective. Here in Scandinavia, it's quite common to have uh, bathrooms, restrooms, whatever you want to call it, that uh, are gender neutral. And you know what? Works perfectly fine, and it's very safe. It's very safe because you will have an open area, um, like with no doors into the area where you wash your hands and stuff like that. Oh, stuff like that. You wash your hands, when there are mirrors and okay, and then you have the closed little rooms where the actual toilet is, right? And and that's gender neutral. So I mean, isn't that why don't do like that? You know, isn't that like sensible? And then you don't have to go around being all upset about the trans people in restrooms issue. So, but if I say the first thing, all those those men who define as women, they shouldn't go into women's restrooms. Then the woke left will be angry at me. And if I say that let's just have gender neutral bathrooms or restrooms like we have here in Scandinavia, then the Christian nationalists, right wing people get angry at me, and I don't care. But listen, I'm just being objective here. You know, I'm just trying to be sensible here. um, uh, I want to ask you a question, Shining Nocturals. Are they trying to ban Spanish in the US? What's that about? Um, Not even close, says GB. Laura says, I went to a restaurant today with a gender neutral restroom. It wasn't scary. Yeah. Um, I don't want to be disgusting here, but I think that can only work in a culture where people are generally tidy and clean. Can we, you know what I'm saying? So it works in Scandinavia because people are generally, not always, I would say, but generally people here are, compared to, if I can, okay, I've traveled quite a bit, so Scandinavia is quite clean and people are tidy and not disgusting. um, if you go to the UK, it's a little bit down on the scale of cleanliness, so to speak. And if you move, dare I say, into Europe and towards southern parts, in my experience, kind of it's a little bit worse, maybe. Still tidy. Most people are tidy, and if you move to the east, it gets gradually worse in some of those countries. At least it used to be like that. That was a horrible thing to say. I take it all back. So, yeah. No, men don't. I don't see men peeing on the floor as I don't really see that here. Yes, I was in India. That was not clean. It was not clean. Okay, let's leave the toilet, so to speak, and talk about something else. KP Heathen, yes, my son enjoyed the umbrella. Wasn't that funny? I was not able to do an overnighter, but my son and his girlfriend borrowed the umbrella tent. Yeah, actually, I was going to talk about that or something connected to that. Yeah, that video is on Bjorn Outdoors. I uploaded that yesterday. Just 3 minutes video, 3 minute video press showing you that tent. And it's constructed like a big umbrella. It's a huge tent with a wood burning stove inside. And you just fold it out. Of course, not with a stove inside. You have to put the stove inside after you fold out the tent. But it weighs a ton. It weighs a ton. But yeah. No, they really enjoyed the time there, the overnighter. But of course, when you have such a heavy tent, you can't carry it for hardly any distance. I mean, it was a huge bag, and one person can carry it. So, like my son, who is strong, he just took it over his shoulder. I would probably struggle a little bit. My back would ache and so on. But yeah, so it was quite close to where I parked the car. But yeah, so car camping, I guess you could say. But maybe car camping is when you actually camp in the car. I don't know. But yeah, it was wonderful. So I'm looking forward to use that tent. I'm going to Denmark for the outdoors festival there in May, and I'll probably bring that tent. Yeah, but what I was going to say is that the first or one of the very first comments I got there was, and I get so fucking sick and tired of these people sometimes. I think the term is smartass. Some idiot wrote in the comment section that, oh, it's very expensive, so you shouldn't buy that tent because then you can't save up money for buying a house, like you talked about in one of your other videos. And it's like, I get these people all the time trying to belittle me for trying my best to make some money making these videos. And it's like, you don't have to buy the tent. I was sent the tent for free. And I don't think anyone would say no to that. So I was sent the tent for free, and I'm an affiliate. Then you get an affiliate link to these items, and not all of them, but many of the items that I use, I have an affiliate link. And if you click on the link, sometimes you get a discount. Um, uh, and I get usually between 5 and 10% of a cut of the sale, and I make a little bit, not much, but a little bit of the income, you know. And I won't have people, I'm 52 years old. My body is actually quite broken. That's the sad truth. I'm feeling that every day, trying to keep myself together with training and all of that. But I see that, I won't last. Maybe I won't last as long as other people. Getting a bit personal here, but physically. Um, and I need to, if I can set up some things that will add a little bit to my income, I will do that. Um, so, yeah. Alex says, Bjorn, we thought you're 23. Well, thank you. Thank you. Stealth mode, thank you for that. Again, you don't have to buy anything, but also, I'm. Donald says, I'm almost 64 and not doing well. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, well, you have the entire community here wishing you the best. Um, and I find that focusing on what I can do now that I have a neurological disorder is better. April says, I never understand why some viewers act like it's a crime for content creators want to make a little extra money. Yeah, exactly. I think there's a limit there. There's a limit there. I think there are these creators who push products all the time, and I think the most common used example, and it's being ridiculed. It's Ben Shapiro, um, and it's like I've seen some comedians making like a parody, and and it's like every 10 seconds it's like, and go to this VPN and VPN to get buy this VPN and so it's like, yeah, that's too much. That's too much. um, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Angela, yes. Now that we are talking about this, people think you're a millionaire if you have, well, this is my smaller channel, okay, but my main channel has 716,000 subscribers, I think. I know it's not growing anymore. It's not growing anymore, and struggling with the views and all of that. It's just how it is. I think it's saturated now. The niche, if you can, uh, if you can say that. So you don't make so much money. I mean, people would be. I don't want to get into details about that, but I think people would be shocked if they knew how little money you make from the ad revenue. It's almost, well, it's, you need to constantly make new videos and you need to constantly push those videos the best you can. And it's not so easy. And YouTube, I think they are going to move towards removing more and more of the ad revenue. So yeah, and I think there have been times when I've been asking myself, when the fifth or sixth video in a row is underperforming, and you have to ask yourself, what am I doing here? And then I am usually reminded by people in the comment section who are telling me that one of my videos, or my videos in general, they helped them through a difficult time, or that they are in a difficult position now. And that has, up through these, I've been doing this for 9 years, and this has been the main motivating force for me. And to be honest with you, even, I shouldn't say this, but now that we are being honest, I think that even if they took all the money away from YouTube, I would still do it. Yeah. Because of that. And I'm not just saying that, it's actually true. And I think that I recognize that myself, because I have channels that I find very helpful and, supportive, and yeah. Well, thank you, Laura. That's very kind of you. And I was actually watching a priest He has a channel. What's his name now? Now I can't remember. He's from Halifax. Halifax, actually. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think he said Halifax. So I found that channel, and you know what? I'll put those channels, that channel, and another one that I will mention now. I'll put it in the as a pinned comment, so that you can find those channels. And I find that, to me, I've had a difficult time in the past, and a priest helped me. So I should be a Christian, really, but I can't be a Christian because of some different things. But and I haven't talked about this enough, because when I try to talk about it, we'll see what happens here. I think what happens is that I get people from different Christian tribes, and they all claim to know the truth, and they want me to think like them. That's why I'm not even able to finish my sentence, right? So, I'm a Norse pagan, right? And that doesn't, contrary to popular belief, it doesn't mean that I cannot listen to and learn from important figures in other religions, so to speak. And to me, I will say Jesus is kind of important. And I'm not a Christian, but I rather view Jesus as a very, very, essential philosopher. And there's a lot there that I find very helpful. But it needs to, no, I've said it, but it needs to, stay as a private thing. Yeah. And I think hope and love is something that's the keywords there. Those are the keywords. Now I was going to mention something. Oh yeah, the two channels there. Okay, so that priest, I think he's quite, he was probably suggested to me by the algorithm, because I've been critical about Trump and all of that. At least that's what the algorithm thinks, and the algorithm is constantly trying to put you in one of the tribes. And it's confused when it comes to me. So I I was in the pro-Trump tribe according to the algorithm before. Now I'm in the anti-Trump tribe according to the algorithm. Well, I'm just trying to be objective here. I will, if you can, let's see. I will try now to find that channel. Okay. And I'll have to look here and see if I can. I think I'll be able to put it in the comment section there. Let's see. Give me a few seconds now. I'll get it. So, oh yeah, I'll first go here, and I will give you Now, this is a foolish thing to do, of course, because now people will be leaving my live stream. So that's the first one is a druid in Scotland. The druids, they are all about nature and connection with nature. And now let's see if we can. Oh, there's the priest. You see, I don't think it's so different. Those two are not that different. Much less different than we would think. And I will also give you the link to Miss Ellie and Otto. She is a long distance hiker, and Otto is my hero. That's the dog, her dog. Oh, Mr. Smith, are you a druid? That's very interesting. Thank you, the Johnny. Thank you. I'll put those in a pinned comment as well. So let me just comment on those channels a little bit. The first one, the druid, is thank you for the donation, the Johnny00. That's very, very kind of you. So the druid I discovered yesterday, actually. He's a very nice old man. In was it in the Hebrides? I think they live on one of the islands there in the Hebrides. I might be wrong. He's in Scotland. And then you have the priest. He's doing like he's just talking from his office in the church, I guess. And he is also commenting on the political situation in the USA, or more like seen from the perspective of a Christian. And there are some prayers and stuff like that. And he's all about nature, connecting with nature and all of that. And kindness. And then Ellie hikes. It's like, isn't it funny how these people, long distance hikers, the most impressive ones are those who make no fuss about what they're doing. But if you watch her channel should be a lot bigger, by the way. It's very impressive. It's very impressive what she's doing, and she did a long distance hike in the UK now. Sorry, I have hopefully not a cold, but my son and his girlfriend, they did not bring warm enough sleeping bags for that overnighter in the big umbrella tent. So now my son has a cold. So now I got the cold as well, I think. Ellie hikes. It's really impressive, and she's very positive, and I aspire to be like that, to be a long distance hiker. That's my main goal now that I have said that I am struggling with some things. I am also getting treatment, and it's difficult it's difficult, but my goal is to do a long distance hike and manage that. I wish I'd done it a couple of years ago because it would have been easier, but that's my goal, to get to the point where I'm able to do that. Yeah. um, Sharp Canines says, I watch Obod. What's that? OBOD? Um, you have to tell me, what is that? Um, yeah. Thank you, Laura. Order of Bards, Oats and Druids. Okay, yes. I see. Yeah, Ian, yes. H is a pain. Yeah. Once you get past 50, it's a battle. Yeah. That is true. That is true. Um, so after the nationals, I'll be competing in the nationals for masters. It's very kind of them to call older lifters masters. So I'll be competing at in a little over 4 weeks, well, the end of March. And after that, I'm going to do move into completely clean eating. So that will be just meat, fish, uh, what do you call it, organic vegetables, and water. A cleanse, so to speak. Um, because I think that in order to figure out what's really wrong, you need to get rid of all the toxins first. I think so. And of course, that food is the most expensive food. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that wrong? It is wrong. Um, and it should not be like that. And I think now I'm all over the place. I know this live stream is all over the place, but um, milk, dairy, I can't consume any dairy products. So, but yeah, I know that's a problem now with milk and dairy products because they put. Can I curse? I'll ask you first. Um, can I curse? These fucking idiots are putting chemicals in the food that they feed the cows so that they will, I won't use the word, but so that they will above air or Bill Gates. I mean, no, I won't say it. I won't say it. So now, of course, I can't remember what it does to the milk, but it's not healthy. And that's not a conspiracy theory. That's being, the research is there. I mean, so there is, there are, this has nothing to do with the raw milk discussion. Yeah, the gassy cows too. So they put things in the food that they give to the cows so that they won't break wind as often. And I mean, it should, okay. Some things in life should be obvious. This is one of those. Cows are not the problem. Why? Why can I say that with such certainty? Because we have had grassland animals, these big herds of animals roaming the grasslands since the dawn of time. And they actually improve the environment now. Modern how they treat cows now, that needs to stop. It needs to stop now. And cows need to be out in the fields. They need to be in the open air, not confined to some indoor space, because that's cruel. So yeah, but you know, I get all upset because they are destroying the food that we are eating. And I think that in many cases, maybe even my case, that's destroying people's health. And if you go to the grocery store now, if you and this is a, what do you call it, pet peeve, pet peeve of mine. You go there and you can basically just rip out most of the crap inside there, because most of the space in that store, it's ultra processed foods, uh, sweets, candy, chocolate. Yes, I eat chocolate too, sodas, and I drink sodas too, but I know they're not good for me, you know. And all of those things, you know what, could be much, much more expensive, because we don't need all of that. We don't need it at all. Um, but what is expensive? Meat, especially, and meat is healthy. Seed oils, yeah, of course. um, Meat, fish, both of those are expensive, and you can't even buy salmon or trout in Norway, because it's farmed and it's full of toxins. And what do you need? You need actually to eat meat, fish that comes from the ocean, and you need organic vegetables, and you need water. That's it. And some people have a less tolerance for vegetables, of course, but yes, and it needs to be non-GMO. I'm not saying that genetically modified organisms are necessarily unhealthy, but the thing is, we don't know. We don't know yet. So it's a game of it's Russian roulette, isn't it? But we do know that red meat is good for us. Um, and it's like it's saying that now. It's almost like you have people showing up at your door with pitchforks and torches, because, yeah. Um, Shining Noctowl says they need to treat animals better. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't know with you guys, but when I eat a big steak, I feel mentally much calmer after that. Right after I've eaten that steak, I feel much calmer. Yeah. And that's how it's supposed to be. But if you eat like a ultra processed rich high carb meal, you don't feel good after that. Um, yeah. Okay. Mm, let's see here. Yeah. So basically, what they are pushing for now is making people sick, and uh, yeah. Let's see here. Okay. Yes. Uh, we are getting into the whole health issue, or rather, how the current state of things is extremely unhealthy and unnatural. So, and this is why I think that the Kennedy guy, if he's left to if the Trump, I should say Trump's donors can leave him to do his work, I think it will be extremely beneficial. Um, and I'm not saying I agree with everything that he says. I don't know everything he says, but um, if we look at the direction where we are going now, we are moving towards making everyone sick. We have, uh, uh, you'll have to excuse me because I try to avoid the censorship. We have the idea that our immune system should be tweaked using chemicals. Although, yeah, I know he was a heroin addict. I know that. I'm sure that he's not saying that that was a good thing, you know. Um, yeah, well, so back to what I was saying here. Um, okay, so we are moving towards a state of things where the immune system is supposed to be tweaked by big pharma. You know what I mean. Um, our diet, the way we have been eating as human beings. I mean, we are primates, right? And it's very easy to see. You can dig up bones and you can look at what we have been eating. Um, we're now supposed to change all of that, and especially in the USA, where a lot of these toxins, more of these toxins are allowed to put in the food than, well, compared to Europe. Um, People are consuming things that are not even food on a regular basis. Um, on an amount of simple uh, or simple chain, what you call it in English? Well, sugars. People call it sugars. Um, and and the protein is mostly ultra processed, which is highly cancerous. And that's actually where they get the numbers from when they say that, well, people who eat meat are subject to cancer. Uh, it's not those that research has not been done on like a non-processed meat. So instead, we should we should be try to be objective and sensible here, and we should try to make people healthy. And obesity is, of course, another problem. And if you make it very easy and very cheap to eat crap, and to eat foods that are uh, constructed or put together in such a way that they actually make you hungry. I mean, potato chips. Potato chips. I love potato chips. I do. I love potato chips. And it's difficult to eat just a little handful. And that's because if you look at the ingredients, it's tweaked, and it's made that way, um, so that you should eat the whole bag, right? Um, and people get fat, and that's not a good thing, you know. Um, and it's like, I'm not saying that you can never go to McDonald's and have a McDonald's meal. I do that now and then, but it's not like I crave for a Big Mac. It's like, if it's convenient, I will have a McDonald's meal, but how, I mean, maybe I have that once every 2 months or something like that. Can't remember now. It's been a long time now. But yeah, so basically, I mean, we need to make people healthy and make it. I was about to say we need to make it easy for people to be healthy, and we should, but much more important, we need to make it hard for people to be unhealthy, you know? If it's difficult for people to be unhealthy, a lot more people will be healthy. So, people in Norway now, they are upset because chocolate has become much more expensive. And I eat chocolate, but I'm not upset because we don't need chocolate, you know? Um, yeah, I know, it's uh, it's stupid that it's so expensive, right? But that's not what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the food that we actually need. That food should be much more cheap. Instead, that's the insanely pricey, expensive food. Laura says it's definitely a necessity. Is that chocolate? um, yeah, it's just an example, but you get what I'm saying here. Um, so, oh, Gladys Kravitz Jr. was just a trip way down into Mexico, and all the food was fresh. I felt so much better. Yeah, that is true. Um, so, Gray Heavenfall says no. Yeah, well, yeah, the Burger King meals are much more expensive. Okay. The Yeman says, do you do outdoor cooking and post videos? Oh, I don't really do that much outdoor cooking. I have done that. If I did that now with the way YouTube is working now, you probably wouldn't see that video because it's it would just get hidden by the algorithm. Uh, yeah. Yeah, well, I think when it comes to Mexico and the USA and all of that, To me, it seems silly to start a conflict between the USA and Mexico. I get the problem with the border, but it seems like it's just expanded into this hatred of well, hate, as in the title. Really, you gave up Wolf of Odin. You gave. Thank you for the donation, by the way. You gave up chocolate and now no more migraines. Wow. Thank you, Angela. Um, let's see here. Hate. I don't know, but it seems like there's a lot of hate towards Mexicans in the USA. Am I wrong? Among certain people. Among certain people. Of course, the drug thing and the border, that's a massive problem, and you need to fix that. And yeah, I support whatever is being done at the border now. I support that. Not whatever, but I support going in there and taking control about the situation is horrible, of course. But I will say this, and this is a difficult one, of course, but there is a reason why they are bringing all those drugs into the USA. And now no, I don't have the energy for a rant, but the culture is pulling. It's a driving force, right? Because I think that if it's like a comedy series from the USA, I will most likely not even give it a chance. I won't even bother starting to watch it. Why is that? Because you can time it, and it's like it doesn't take long until it's about drugs, and it's so fun. It's supposed to be fun. Drugs is fun. It's a normalized thing. It's funny, and we're all supposed to laugh. And I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it should be normalized, and I don't think that. Yeah, I mean, when the culture obviously is as it is, normalizing the use of drugs, and it's you can't put all the blame on Mexico, can you? Yes, you need to stop the criminal people at the border, obviously. But maybe you should look at the culture itself in the USA. Maybe you should take a look at that. Take a long, hard look at that. I have zero tolerance for drugs. Now, I'm talking about, of course, not. You even have the same word, we have different words when it comes to what is prescribed. Like if you're sick and your doctor prescribe medicine for you, that's called drug in English. In Norwegian, it's called medicine. But I'm not talking about those drugs, that you have to take to get well. I'm talking about the other stuff. And it's difficult to change a culture intentionally. But yeah, I have zero tolerance for these people and what they're doing. Yeah, they call it recreational drugs, I guess. I have zero tolerance. And I have police in my family, and someone working closely with investigators, and you really have to go to the most violent of the movies to get a grasp of how brutal it is. Because it's very brutal. It's very bloody what they're doing, and they're using poor people, mostly using poor people to get the drugs into countries like the USA. So yeah, but okay. Yeah. Now, yeah, and also I can tell you there are no, the hippie style idea that, oh, this is not so dangerous, this is not so bad. No, no, it's all fucking brutal. Yeah, that was very sad. Let's not talk about that. Yeah, LE, I am talking about that drug as well. It is people think it's like, oh, it's not so serious that, oh, yeah, they're clipping fingers off the people in that every day almost. That it's a horrible thing. Laura, yes, the campsite. Okay, so I managed to, if you didn't know, one of my camps, not my campsites, one of the campsites in the local woods here was destroyed basically. And I was up there and I cleaned up. It's on my Patreon now, that video. Patreon, there's a link in the video description to Patreon. There are some videos there that you won't see unless you are a patron. But yeah, I cleaned up. I dismantled the shelter that they had built, and I managed to get most of the glass up from the floor in the cabin there, the open fireplace cabin. Got, I think I have all the rubbish. All the rubbish was removed. Now I only need to figure out what to do with all the spruce branches, because I don't know what to do with the spruce branches. If I put them somewhere, and here's the problem, okay? So if I put all the spruce branches in a big pile, they will get dry after a while during summer. And what I fear is that people will set fire to that pile of spruce branches. Sorry, Renee, I used the word hippie. That was a foolish thing to say. Okay, the spruce branches. So what do I do with the spruce branches? I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to do anything that kind of makes it tempting to these people to come back and set fire to it. Also, because hedgehogs will sometimes, make a their den in piles like that, and they get burned alive if they do that and they set fire to it. Uh, so I don't know. Right now, it's just on the ground there, but I don't know what to do about that actually. So of course, there is another problem there. Of course, it's like, what do you do with all the trees that they cut down? At the moment, what I did, I leaned them against the open fireplace cabin thing there. Do I cut them up or do I leave them? Because if I cut them up for, to be used as eventually, I know, maybe this fall already, it will maybe be dry enough to use for firewood. But if they come back, these people, do they then, if I have cut them up, do they then cut down more trees? Or if I leave them like they are, will they use those to build again something? I don't know. Such a bunyip. The spruce branches, it's like, it's so much, Um, I guess I could set fire to them now, but um, it's really, there's a lot. Um, no, I don't think you'll see me clean shaven. No. Did the Vikings ever shave? Well, they, at the end of the Viking Age, they were probably normally, at least the richer people, the wealthier people, were clean shaven. Actually, we can see that from the paintings. So Knut, who was the English king, the son of Svein Forkbeard. Well, in the name Forkbeard, you can kind of tell that that guy had a beard, but the son has been depicted as clean shaven. So he probably was. Yeah, I'll keep the beard. uh, yeah. Thank you, Sean. You're saying that glad you actually pushed back against Trump instead of just being a yes man. Yeah. I think what people here are reacting to when it comes to Trump, and I'll say Trump because these statements are coming from Trump himself. Now, I don't know if he writes his social media messages himself. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Though they come from him. And the attitude here is that who the fuck does he think he is? Because one thing is, America, well, or the USA, as we should say. But when this person is starting, and I think it was Greenland that did it. I saw a huge change. I mean, that day. And that's when the attitude changed towards ridicule and complete disrespect. And of course, Denmark is not Norway, and Greenland is, well, it's constitutionally a part of Denmark, but it's also an independent part of Denmark. So, but it was this idea that if you won't accept our deal, we might use military force. That kind of made us irritated. We don't like that. We don't like that. And it comes obviously from an attitude where you think that your country is the greatest, which is fine, as long as you don't believe that that should also mean that you can just take other countries if you want to. And I will admit, I did not see this coming. I did not see this coming. I was wrong on that one. And I still agree on many of the things that are being done under the Trump administration now in the USA. But what we are seeing in the deal that they're trying to construct above the heads of Ukraine and Europe, a deal which will not be accepted. It's imperialism. It's all about. Well, I believe that he actually wants the killing to stop, which it should. But part of that is that they should get access to the minerals for making batteries and weapons and stuff. So that's kind of disgusting, Thomas says, I was mostly positive to Trump before he screwed the pooch with. I didn't see what he wrote there before I read it with Greenland. Now he's dead to me. Yeah, that's what we feel as well. Because, I mean, it's completely disrespectful. And it's like, here's how it goes. And I use this example all the time. Russia wants Alaska back, and then they don't. It's just a joke. It used to be called Russian America. And then people will write, oh, they can't do that. We are stronger. Or maybe, we will take one of the states, Norway. We will buy, Minnesota, because there are many Norwegians there, or descendants of Norwegians. And if you won't accept our price, we will invade. And the response is that you're not strong enough to do that. Well, what are we talking about that? Then we are actually talking about might is right. And if we are going to use that as a guideline in international politics, well, we have been there before, might is right. We have been there before, and the thing is, the USA will not win that battle, because there are other superpowers now more powerful than the USA. So, I mean, yeah. Why don't we instead respect other countries' borders. That's a good place to start, you know. And also people are saying he didn't really mean that. No, but what do you say to a president in the USA who's actually saying that? Can you take him seriously, or do you just laugh at him? Well, most people are laughing. Um, you know, so which country is more powerful? Norway? No, Norway is not as powerful as the USA, of course. I'm trying to illustrate my point here. Um, yeah, so I think that's the attitude here, and if you think about it, it's not so strange why it is like this. Um, yeah, that's on me. I didn't see it coming. I did not see that coming. Um, yeah. I think Canadians feel this very strongly now, because that's the rudest comment I think I've ever seen from a like high level politician, calling Canada the 51st state. And I thought that was kind of funny when I first heard it. But then it was repeated, and then it was not funny anymore. You know, disrespectful is not funny. I thought it was like a comment to Trudeau, and it was like, ha, imagine saying something like that. Oh, he did, and then it's been repeated. Yeah. And of course, if if in Canada, if Canadians were voting in the election in the USA, you wouldn't have Republicans winning anymore, would you? Yeah. Yeah, I know he's still saying it, so that's why it's not really funny. And if it's okay to make, if that's supposed to be a joke, then why are people getting, well, certain kind of people in the USA, why are they getting so upset when you say things like, let's see if I can remember now. Oh yeah, the Gulf of America. Yeah, we'll just rename the USA to Vinland. Laura is asking, who would you have voted for? I would have voted for Trump. And that's because the alternative was a continuation of the war in Ukraine. And that's extremely dangerous to us here in Europe, because it can quickly spin out of hand. Well, it already has, but it can very quickly become a nuclear war. You know, yeah. So, yeah, any peace in Ukraine that is a lasting peace, that's the key word. is good. I want that because I don't want a nuclear war. But also, I was not prepared for the not including Ukraine and Europe in the so-called peace negotiations. It's an extremely foolish thing to do, and it's the best outcome of that is not a good outcome at all. The best outcome of that is a pause in the fighting. The conflict will then pop up again, probably somewhere else in Europe. You know, and when you are excluding someone from negotiations, it's because you don't want that person or that part to voice their demands. That's the only reason why I do it. Yeah, Laura. Yes, Laura's writing. I don't think anyone saw this Greenland crap happening. Yeah. Yeah, war is idiotic. I agree. And then the latest thing was that Zelensky is a dictator because they haven't had an election. And I get the argument. But then again, how would they have an election there? How would they have an election when they can't really have an election in the occupied areas? I don't think that's possible. That wouldn't be, I mean, and then you have the mainstream media lying, outright lying, about Zelensky and the support he has in the population. And I heard, and I'll try to quote according to my memory here. And it was such a perfect thing to, I heard them saying in mainstream media on the radio that Zelensky has, I think it was 23%, 23, or was it 26? No, 20 something. Zelensky has 20 something percent support in the Ukrainian population. So clearly he has the support of the Ukrainians. Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, what? What? That's, it was such a perfect thing to hear, because they said 20 something percent support Zelensky, so he has the support of the population. No, how can you say that? That's the opposite. But it just shows you how they have conditioned people so much, and maybe even themselves, so much that something that is obviously within the same sentence, it's not true, the 4% is not true, as far as I know. But it's not the majority. And yeah, so they said that, and they were not questioned about it in the news. And I'm like, no, that's 20 something percent is a minority of the population. It's not a majority. And it was like the 4% that Trump said, it seems likely that comes from some Russian outlets. And Trump referred to that. And then in the news, they said that's fake. because the actual numbers is 20-something%. So Zelensky still has the support of the population. What? No. David says Zelensky approval rating is soaring due to the Trump backlash in Ukraine, solidifying support for him. That's interesting. Yeah, that would be a likely effect, I guess, of what's happening now. Swedish television, they said the number 46%. Yeah, I heard that one as well. Who can I trust? But 46% is still a minority. Nero, that's an awesome donation. Thank you so much. That's so kind. Thank you. Wow. Wow. Helps a lot. Helps the channel a lot. Yeah. To be honest with you, I got up this morning and I didn't feel so great, and I thought, I'll do a live stream to get social contact with people. Ruffles West says, what were your thoughts on J.D. Vaughan's speech to Europe? Sorry, someone already asked. No, I think that the J.D. Vaughn speech, I must say I haven't watched it all, but the thing I did see that I view it as more of a speech to solidify support among Americans, much more than a speech to Europe. But what he said about censorship is true. And I think it's good that someone tell these people to their faces, these politicians sitting there. And he said that the far left and far right political parties were not invited. That's a democratic problem. Yeah, it is. And as I've said before, there are countries in Europe now where censorship is just off the rails. In the UK, if you say something or write something on social media that is, anti-immigration or anti-government and so on, the police can knock on your door and they come to check your thinking. And that's straight out of 1984. David Dai Talon, welcome as a member to the channel. Thank you so much. Thank you. So he said that that's the democratic problem. Also, he called out the thing in Romania where this guy won the election using social media, and it was I think it was decided that election is no good because of Russian interference. I think that's not so likely. And I think they just didn't like the outcome of the election. And when they can do that, when they can just say that, well, we don't really trust that election, so we'll do it again until we get the result that we want. Then you have a problem. Yeah. Sharp canines. Any news from Funky Prepper? Well, Funky Prepper was arrested. And I think the correct thing here is to not share so much of what I know. I don't know so much, but anything I can say could hurt his case. So I can just comment in a general sense on the state of things in the UK. Yeah, it's not so good what's happening over there. Yeah, he was arrested. And he's not, they made it so that he can't get on social media for a while, I think. Yeah. In a general sense, I think misinformation and disinformation, as they call it, it's just code words for, well, I don't know what to call it. Of course, there are disinformation there or misinformation. I can't remember the difference. So, Renee, well, thank you for subscribing. Like, let me give you an example. So, if you say that the Earth is flat, is that misinformation? I think that's misinformation. Disinformation is, it doesn't really matter so much the difference there, but yeah, GB, exactly. It all intends to silence and control. But if you say that the Earth is flat, I don't think, you can say that on YouTube and they will not close down your channel or remove your video because it's viewed as not harmful, right? It's hollow because, and I actually think that most of the people who claim that it's flat, they do that just to spark a conversation or to get attention or something. But the thing is, it's not harmful. And even if you think it's flat, it's probably not going to be harmful, except that people find you a little bit funny. But when the information is intended to have you make choices that could be harmful to you, that's a problem, of course. So sorry, it's difficult to talk about because of the censorship. Health is a good example. Now, I talked about diet or what we're supposed to eat, and we're still allowed to do that. But I would not be so surprised if YouTube decides to shut down all the videos where people talk about the health benefits of eating meat. And they would say that's misinformation or something like that. And that's a problem because they can just claim misinformation and then close down all opposition. And we, of course, we have been through COVID, and they did close down. I was almost kicked off YouTube altogether But the things I said that got me in trouble are now the things that governments are actually admitting. And I said those things back then because I knew that it was the truth, and it was objectively the truth. You could find the results, you could look at the numbers, and it's obvious. It was obvious. It was obvious. But what, you'll have to forgive me because I'm trying to find the right words. What they were pushing, I'll take a chance here, okay? They were pushing misinformation. They were pushing misinformation about the big cough. And they were pushing content that made people take the wrong decisions. And a lot of people are in regret now because they trusted that information and the other information that said maybe you should reconsider, maybe you should not go there, and maybe get Billy Bob's cough medicine. Maybe you should think that maybe you should look at yourself and, well, I'm a healthy young person, I don't need it. For instance, just an example, unrelated to all and everything that I've ever said here. Just saying that information was suppressed, it was not shown to you, and you had to speak in codes like I do now, while the information that was promoting and selling big pharma's cough medicine, that information was everywhere. And YouTube is guilty of that. Misinformation, disinformation, whatever you call it. And we are seeing it now. And I think Ukraine is a huge, big example where, as I mentioned just now, that, they will actually present you numbers less than 50% and say that in the same sentence, Zelensky has support in the population. Well, he has support, but it's a minority support. Yeah. Yeah, actually, Claude Daly, I don't like to say I told you so. I don't like this. I think people who feel that they made the wrong choice now, they know that they don't need to be told. Yeah, Arizona Armadillo, I hope you're right. You're writing that Trump is going to give YouTube a heavy-duty attitude adjustment. I really hope so. I really hope so. Because it's not so easy here. I can tell you that. Black Pigeon Pilled is asking, where would you go if you left Norway? I would probably go to Sweden. Oh, thank you, Grasnas G. Thank you for the donation. Yeah, I did a video on the main channel about basically suicide. And how especially men are struggling. They are overrepresented on that statistic. And you're writing that you got a content warning. But actually, in this case, I logged onto YouTube. Well, I got onto YouTube without logging on, and I saw the video, so I could see. from the outside how it is to watch that video. And yes, there's a content warning, but also a link to a place where people can get help. So in this case, I think that's good. Because I didn't know what to write. I wanted to put a link there to a phone number or somewhere where you can get help, but that would be different in each country. And I think maybe YouTube will put a link to a place where you can get help in your country. Oh, don't go to Malmö. No, don't go there. In Sweden, no, it's not so nice there. Grassland says, yes, one time the content box was helpful. Yeah, Eka, I am reading your comment there. Thomas is recommending Jämtland in Sweden. I'm not planning to move to Sweden, but yeah, I struggle a little bit with the northern areas because of the darkness in the winter months. And Denmark does not have the right to roam, so I would not be okay in Denmark. I'm not ignoring anyone here, I think. Kim Sol 22. I'll scroll up and see what you are writing there. Florida. Is it like if I would go to Florida? I don't have any plans to move. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like I like it in Norway. It's a good country to live in. The problem with Norway is the taxes. And this is the part that people don't really get. Taxes in Norway are so high that it's difficult to save up for retirement. And because of that, a lot of people, they move out of Norway when they retire. Typically to Spain because it's cheaper to live there. Yeah. So if only Norway could do something about the very unfair taxation system, it would be almost perfect here, you know. Yeah. People say that, you know, everything is so expensive in Norway, and it is, but that's not really the biggest problem or a big problem at all, because the wages are high, so it kind of, you have to take that into account. A bottle of water for $8, is that Norway? No, I don't think so. But why would you buy water? We can just drink water from the tap. Well, I have kids in Norway, and I don't want to have an ocean between me and my kids. Um, so that's kind of important, you know. Um, but it's like the USA is. I've been to the USA, but not not so many parts of it. Um, and I find that people in the USA are very much actually quite like Scandinavians. You might be surprised when I say that, but we most people are normal. And in social media you get the impression that people in the USA, and here's the impression that we get here in Scandinavia, the people in the USA, either they have a nose ring and they're woke and they think that there are 57 genders, or they are one of the Botox Christians, with uh, Christian nationalists with banging in the head with a Bible and carrying their guns around, waving their guns around. um, so it's like that's the stereotypes that we get here. But I realize that most people are not like that, of course. Uh, most people are quite normal. So, yeah, I mean, I could live in the USA. I would, uh, what makes me stressed about the USA is actually the death sentence, because I have this nightmare, not like a real nightmare, but like I'm paranoid because if I live in a state that has the death sentence, someone will set me up, and they will capture me, and I will be killed by the state. Yeah, like that's ever going to happen. But it's like I don't like that thought so much. The state should not have that power. Um, but yeah, no, seriously speaking, no, I could live in the USA. I think somewhere near the coast. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was in California. It was different and very warm. Oh, so warm. The East Coast, maybe the East Coast would be better. I don't know, but I'm not an inland person, so yeah. Um, and I think the main attraction, um, Green-eyed lady says, Bjorn, most states do not have the death penalty. Um, yeah, so I really like the East Coast. Saying that I haven't been in other places than New York on the East Coast, but I've seen photos and videos. I have, of course, read about the Native American nations on the East Coast, and I find that very fascinating. Um, and yeah, but I'm here. Yeah, Cape Cod, of course, yes. I want to go there. Yeah. No, I'm not planning to leave. uh, yeah, bottled water is not really a thing here. You can buy bottled water here, but you take water from the tap. Uh, yeah. What I admire with the USA, well, there's a lot. I admire the attitude that about freedom. We have that here as well, of course, but it's not as expressed as in the USA. I admired attitude about independence, and here we have people supporting the royal family and all that. It frustrates me, and I think I might be wrong here, but I think that people in Europe in general have, in Northern Europe, I should say, they have easier. It's easier for them to respect figures of authority than people in the USA. Just a guess. I don't know. Um, but I believe there should be disrespect, disrespect, if anything, of people in positions of authority, or not disrespect, but skepticism. There's a word here, scrutiny. They should be subject to scrutiny. Is that the word? So I like that about the USA. What I don't like so much is the USA is the best country, it's the freest country, it's the best, best, best. I don't like that attitude, because I disagree. But then again, if we look at the demographics and the ticking time bomb in Europe, in the USA as well, but very, very much in Europe. You know what that is? I'll say it. It's we're not having enough children here. We're getting older, and it will result in a financial crisis, and it won't take long. In 10 years from now, we will really, really start to feel it. Yeah. Well said, shining knockdowns. America first should be people first instead of make America great. The oligarchs. It should be make the people great again. We the people. Yes, absolutely. Efo, thank you so much for your donation. That's very kind of you. Californians are just Gavin. Gavin Newsom. He looks like a sleazy car salesman. I think. Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger, yes. Of course, yes, he moved to the USA, of course, as a young man. No, sorry. I'm sorry to all the car salesmen here. He actually looks like one of these TV evangelists that get Gavin Newsom with his suit and his hairdo and all that. He needs a Bible and this line, donate money here on the TV screen. Yeah. Yeah, Grasslands G, yes. When it comes to freedom, If you compare, yes, to Singapore, Russia, Saudi Arabia, or most places. Yeah. This is something that we tend to forget. The free, I think it doesn't really make sense to rate countries by freedom. Instead, we should have categories like free, not so free, and horrible, or something like that. And free countries, Norway and Sweden, Denmark, free countries. Those are free countries. And I would say the USA, also a free country. And it's easy to forget that if we compare the said countries to, for instance, Russia, Russia does not have that same. It's a different structure. It doesn't really have that freedom, because if you are critical towards Putin, you can be put in jail and you will stay there for a long time. And it's a crime to criticize the government. It was, or maybe still is, a crime punishable by prison, I think, to call the war in Ukraine a war. Special military operation, I think they had to say. And I have seen people, I've actually received a couple of emails from people who wrote that they are moving to Russia because they can't take the woke craziness in the USA anymore. And I'm like, okay, what's worse? Living in a country where there are a long list of things that you can't say or write in social media because if you do, they put you in jail. Or, I know what some people might comment on when I say this, but or is that worse than living in a country where you have crazy people, the nose ring people with screaming about 57 genders? I would take the nose ring people because they don't really harm me, do they? They can't put me in jail. So it's like, do I like those people? No, but they can't put me in jail. And I know some people will say that, well, if you write that this person who used to be a man, who is now calling himself a woman, that he is actually a man, they can put you in jail. I have heard about cases where that was up in court, rare cases, but I've never heard about people who were actually put in jail for that. And the cases that people referred to that I know of wasn't really about that. There was a lot more going into that conflict and so on. So yeah, no, I would take the blue hair people any day. Yeah. Efo, thank you so much for the donation. Oakland Collie, I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. Yeah, and when you go to Muslim countries, not all Muslim countries, but most of them, maybe. It's like it's they don't really value freedom at all. So it's easy to forget what other examples. Oh yeah, yeah. Some African countries, not all of them, but some African countries, uh, they don't even have a functional democracy. And I think that we need a functional democracy to have freedom. Um, yeah. Sharp canines, we welcome you, Bjorn, on behalf of the woke blue hairs. Do you have blue hair? It's just, I don't know it's just a thing I say, I don't care if you have blue hair. Um, it's, it's, uh, it's just a term, the blue hair people. I started to say that. Sometimes I say the nose ring people, because that seems to be the uniform. They need to have that. um, but I can just say woke, I guess. Um, you can have blue hair but without being woke. It used to be old ladies who had blue hair. Yes, I've seen that actually. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's the woke thing. It's never harmed me in any way. It's but of course it does harm kids when you are in schools and so on. It's all over the place, and they are imprinting them with ideas that are not helpful and not healthy at all. Um, yeah, yeah. Well, so that's obviously a problem. Yeah. William Chin is asking, is Odin a savior in these times? I don't think Odin should be viewed as a savior, rather an ideal, like something that we should aspire to. The constant search for wisdom, education, facts, um, the wanderer. He's called the wanderer. Um, and I certainly think that if people were more passionate about finding wisdom through traveling, reading, studying, we would be less. What's the word? Polarized, because it seems like the people who know the least are the most opinionated people, and the people who know a lot, they tend to understand that things are quite complex. Um, things are not as black and white as many people want to portray them. Um, yeah. Nuanced, yes, Laura, exactly. Yeah. Um, um, let's see. Weirdos need to get back in the closet. No, I don't think anyone should get back into the closet. I think people should be allowed to be like they want to be, as long as they don't push that onto others. Yeah, this is a long live stream, very long live stream. That's true. But I've taken the day off actually, so yeah, I can do that. Thomas says the Norse gods expect humans to save themselves. They did not make us to be sheep. That is true. That is true. It's a different mindset. It's a very, the Norse pagan or heathen mindset is very much like you need to fight, and life will give you fights, and you need to stand in those fights and not give up. I think that's to me the main attraction of Norse paganism or Norse heathenism. Yeah. Ellie says, I agree with that. The only way out is through. Thank you for that. Very profound comment. The only way out is through. Yes. Yeah. Now, long live stream. I want to ask you to keep your eyes open concerning my video that should be uploaded in actually now less than 12 hours on the main channel, and it's my main channel is linked to in the video description. And yeah, maybe I should try to do more long live streams in the future. Maybe I should try to do that. Yeah. Okay. I want to go and have my breakfast now. Have a wonderful evening or morning, and we'll talk soon. Okay. Bye-bye.